Silverzone is a highly reflective foil type underfloor insulation. It works to reflect the heat back up into your home while deflecting the cold away. It's brilliant because it's installed in a blanket format right across the bottom of your floor joists, so there's no messy cutting or pasting up in between, and it's also great at stopping any rising damp coming up through your floor. The construction of Silverzone is more than just meets the eye. Essentially, there's two layers of high purity aluminium separated by a layer of bubble. The bubble is made of a fire retardant PE plastic. Reinforcing the aluminium is a layer of scrim, and then on top of each layer of aluminium there's also a protective coating that stops the material oxidising over a period of time. The product carries a 15-year guarantee and is especially recommended in higher wind zones or where you do have that rising damp issue in your home. Of any of the materials that we have, it's the quickest and easiest to install. To install Silverzone, you'll require a heavy-duty stapler capable of taking 14mm staples, some aluminium reinforced joining tape, a Stanley knife, a marker pen, a handsaw and a tape measure. Please note that it's critical to the success of installation of Silverzone that all ends are blocked off and any air movement or possible heat leakage is contained. Firstly, take a full roll of Silverzone and divide it into more manageable sizes. Take a Stanley knife and trim it in a nice straight line across the material. It's important that you don't cut the material on any sharp objects underneath it as you unwind it. Silverzone should be installed with the reinforced side facing downwards. You can easily identify this on the material. The reason for this is that the staple pinches onto the bottom of the scrim and holds it in place.
Take the roll of Silverzone and start at the end of your bearer run against the outside wall. Staple the material into the corner, then start stapling the full sheet down the length of the bearer. Staples should be approximately 300mm apart, but closer if you're in a high wind zone. Once this is stapled along the bearer, lift the sheet from the middle and start stapling it up into the joists. Starting in the middle helps make sure the sheet goes up nice and straight. Work your way along the joists, stapling approximately every 40 centimeters. Be careful that you know where the wires and other obstacles are as you go. At the end of the house, ensure the insulation is tucked into the inside of the outside joist and not against the outside cladding. If you cover over any wiring or other surfaces, use a marker pen to write on the material so you or someone else can easily find it at a later date. If you are in a high wind area or just need additional support for the Silverzone, staple strips of stud strap up along the joists over the top of the Silverzone. This will provide reinforcing to better hold the material up.
This is not normally required, as generally the Silverzone is adequately strong enough to hold itself in place. Now we need to cut a strip of Silverzone wide enough to fill in the space between the edge of this installed Silverzone sheet and the next bearer.
Measure this gap and add 100mm to this measurement. This allows for 50mm overlap of material and 50mm turn down on the bearer. Roll up a piece of Silverzone the length of the strip, mark your cut on this roll, then use a handsaw to cut through the material. We now staple the strip up, allowing for the material overlap and turn down on the bearer. The join between sheets now needs to be taped up with aluminium foil tape to avoid heat loss and air movement. We recommend you put the tape up in 1 meter lengths, leaving a small gap between each piece. This just allows a little breathability through the material. Ensure the tape is firmly pushed on. Use polyester insulation around your plumbing and under internal wet areas, as it will allow moisture to move through it in the event of a flood or leaking pipe. It is also a lot easier and quicker to install round plumbing.
If you're not installing Silverzone to the entire house, you'll need to make sure that where you end the material is blocked off. This is to avoid any heat loss. To do this, either take sections of cocoon polyester and plug up the holes, or alternatively, cut strips in the Silverzone along the joists and push the material up to your floor, securely stapling it in place.
And presto! You have now successfully insulated your floors.